He is on death row, right? Because he's in the pound, which is where everyone finds their doggies. They found him in, some kind of shelter usually. And back then we weren't having conversations. I don't want to get political conversations about puppy mills or anything like that. So we'll just avoid that for this podcast. But, North Shore Animal League has strays, or it has rescue dogs from like hurricanes and stuff. So, but there are no kill shelter. So that's probably a bad excuse too. But, everyone kind of knows the idea of the pound, right? And how if a dog's there too long, they may or may not euthanize them. And that's kind of what I took from this, that they were escaping from that. And it was like a real jail breakout. I mean, like they were getting shot at, and lights were lighting up all over the island. And it was kind of funny because he's like, is that a water pipe? No, water pipes are green and this one's red. But you're colorblind. Yeah, I know, but this one's green. And he hits it and the water shoots everywhere. It was interesting, and it really showed you off the kind of animation you were going to see throughout this movie. I thought the animation itself was spot on. I mean, it was really, really well done for 1989 animation techniques.
Especially when they cover, because this movie takes place in 1937 in New Orleans.
Right.
The attention to detail, like you said, was spot on. And I'm not just looking at the characters themselves. I'm looking at the actual scenery itself and what goes on. It was actually really well done.
Yes. Yeah. I really enjoyed the animation style of this movie a lot. And I think it's definitely one of its strong points is just how well done the characters were. And in older animation, you'll notice, sometimes they fuzz out edges or whatever to try, because they can't get the detail right. The colors were very vibrant. Even in the darker scenes, they were vibrant, and you could really make out detail. There wasn't much cheating going on to get you to the next point.
Very well said.
So, moving along in the story, we do find that they end up they end up kidnapping a girl, actually, because now, Charlie, nope, I'm lying. Charlie gets murdered by Carface, right? Carface runs a car through him into the ocean, I would assume that is. So he dies, and he goes up to heaven, and he sees the pink poodle, and he goes to the clock room and steals his own watch. He has a gold, pocket watch that he steals and rewinds. What are your thoughts on this idea that you have a finite amount of time, and when that time's up, it's up?
Okay. I've been thinking about this for the last 2 days. When we look at watches, and I'm taking the Apple Watch or today's technology out of it. Normally when we look at watches, we think to ourselves, how much more time is left in a day, and what can I cram in to the time before I go to sleep, before the day is over? I don't think anybody looks at a watch and says, I have all the time in the world, or I have enough time. I think the symbolism of life as a watch is a very strong point in this movie. It's not something that most people look at when they look at a watch. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yes.
So, like I said, most people look at a watch and go, I got an hour before I have a doctor's appointment, or I can get 3 things done before I have this going on, or how much more time do I have left to work before I can go home and relax? But then there's 8 hours of sleep. I just wasted my day. No one thinks of the time that's left on Earth.
Hold on. You get 8 hours of sleep?
Okay, no. But I'm basing this on the average. Outside of us two, I'm basing this on the other 4 billion people that are in this country.
Yeah, because I get 4 at best. But okay, go on.
No one looks at the future. No one looks at, there's this saying of, live for today, not for tomorrow. No one looks to the future. Everybody wants everything done by today. And this watch really, instead of going for the day, it goes for however long until, and we find out why, it's finite. It's infinite, rather. The watch is just a symbolism of time, of your time here on Earth before something happens and the watch stops.
Right. So, and I think you're right, but I also think part of that is 30 years ago, people didn't cram as much into a day. They didn't try as hard they weren't in the race as much as we were, but however, there was definite overtones with the rat races, right? They went to the rat race, and they even said your rat race is over now when he first got to heaven. And that was all started, back in the 30s or 40s, right? When people, and this movie takes place in the 30s, when people would move outside the cities and would have to travel into work and out to work. This is where rush hour first started and traffic jams, because now you had people, and they called it the rat race that you were living. And so they definitely are hinting towards this idea and this concept, which is cool. But they take it to another level where the rat race is your life in general. And when your life is over, the clock stops. And I think people do think about it more than they like to admit. I know I do. I wonder when it's going to be over, it's over. But we hear it all the time. Like, people will say, well, when your time's up, it's up. It's not an active thought in their head, but they kind of believe, like, if I'm meant to pass away now, I'm meant to pass away now. If I'm not, I'm not. And I think this movie gives you a good idea of that, because when he steals back the watch, he's never allowed in heaven again, quote unquote, right? He's told, if you take that, you can never come back. And he still risks it because he loves life so much. He doesn't want to be dead. He doesn't want to go to heaven yet. It's too early for him. So I wonder, this also brings in the idea that there's a purpose for you in life, and maybe he didn't complete his purpose. As we see, he didn't.
That's correct.
He has a purpose, and his purpose isn't being a gangster, because he comes back and he finds Anne-Marie from Carface, who's talking to horses and finding out who's going to win the races so they can make lots of money. And he does that, and he creates a gambling club, basically be opposite Carface. And he's going to bring in the new club and be better than Carface, make more money than Carface, probably be a little bit better to be better than his rival and steal his business, right? So is that his purpose? No, we find out later. His purpose was not here to come back and rival with Carface. His buddy Itchy, he doesn't want to stay. He wants to get out of town, and he ends up getting beat up over it. But now that we have Anne-Marie, who he calls Squeaker, right? He has to kiss her, not good night, and like read her bedtime stories and tuck her in. And at first it's like a chore. It's like, oh, not this. But she's homeless, just like they are. So this gives her a home, at least for the time being. It's better than being out on your own. It's better than being with Carface, who's even more evil than Charlie is. And Charlie's not a good guy yet. He's still kind of bad at this point. He's just better than Carface.
He's better than Carface, but I think also he's trying to find his way. He realizes what's going on. I think later on we also know that the fact that what he's doing to try to get into heaven, although it's an ulterior motive that he's trying to do, I think, but he's giving Anne-Marie what Anne-Marie wants, or what Anne-Marie searches for, which is our next topic. But at the same time, he's doing good because he knows there's good to be done. He knows he's better than Carface. He's better than the rivals. So he's trying to be the opposite thereof. He sees how Carface was treating Anne-Marie.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and he knows that Anne-Marie wants a better life. He's going to give that better life, although it seems like a chore, and it seems like, he was only in it for himself for a while, but it seems like a chore. But he realizes that Anne-Marie, I don't think enjoys is a better word, but Anne-Marie deserves more than what she was given. So Charlie gives that to her, which gives Charlie the fulfillment for the first act of the movie.
Yes, I agree. And I find it interesting because I think we see him grow into that. He doesn't care about that in the beginning, right? He cares about himself early on. And that's shown because he sees a couple and he goes, they're perfect. And she goes, they are perfect. Or she says it and then he says it. And he means they're perfect to steal from, and she means they're perfect to be mommy and daddy. And we even later on in the movie, when she looks at a photo of her in the wallet, she sees them as mommy and daddy, right? So we see this, and she's trying to get taken in by them. He's just trying to steal their wallet, and Itchy's acting all hurt and everything, and she's kind of doesn't play along correctly, so that it's a little hard to steal the wallet. But they end up getting the wallet, getting the money. They go to the track. They pretend to be one person. Because they find out it's Grand Chaw-Hee's birthday, and they're going to let Grand Chaw-Hee win, which was a cool scene because the horse that told her that rides up to the horse and the leader. He goes, "It's Grand Chaw-Hee's birthday." He goes, "Oh, that's a lovely, good chap." "Oh, sorry." And they back up and push Chaw-Hee through the finish line. So we see this being done, this good being done by different animals because, well, it's Chaw-Hee's birthday. So he didn't have a shot at winning a single race the rest of his life, but we're going to make him win this one because it's his birthday.
What a great, when we talk about movies, we talk about the actors and what's at the forefront. But yet in this movie, in this particular scene, there's good to be done by everybody. And this is one of those scenes in one of these movies where, the background actors actually do the good for another background character. And this is another way of saying that maybe they believe what they believe, whether life is finite or not, or maybe they believe they get into heaven by doing good deeds, or just that they're generally great people to let someone win. The race to them is not as important as somebody's pride or as somebody's enjoyment. So,
I agree.
And this is one of those scenes where that happens.
Yeah,
right.
It's one race. One race. So let the poor old chap win, and they do that. And this is when we start seeing a little bit of a change in Charlie, because he's starting to really like the girl, even though it's selfish motives at first. He's starting to care about her now. And moving forward, we end up with, again, where we're trying to find her a home, right? Now later on in the movie, we're going to try and find her a home. Do things happen in between? Of course, things happen in between because whatever. They end up, Carface goes after the girl, and now she's in trouble. And we find out, here's where, we really find out that Charlie is a good dog, right? Because if you were bad, you don't have friends. And Charlie has friends all over New Orleans. So he can't be horrible, because we saw he brings the female dog and her puppies pizza, and he makes them share, and he sings a song about how to share, and so he's not all bad. He is somewhat Robin Hooding it, and you have that in our notes because he reads the story of Robin Hood to Anne-Marie because he's trying to act like he is doing those things, right? And at first he's not being Robin Hood at all. But Anne-Marie keeps holding him to that standard. Like, you told me we'd help feed the poor, but we haven't done that. You told me we'd be good, we'd rob from the rich, feed to the, give to the poor, and you're not doing any of that. And this is why we get the scene with the pizza. And when he gets there, it's not that he just does it to appease Anne-Marie, because that would have been an easy writing, right? When he gets there, he's actually genuinely happy to have helped. It does feel good to have done something for someone else and brought pizza.
Sure, when especially the life that he's ridden, like you said, he was always out on his own, always looking out for number one. Whereas Anne-Marie was looking for something to be done for the good of people. And like we said, it's Charlie's journey of learning not to be selfish. And this is part of him learning. And this is part of what he does. The first step in giving to other people, because he knows who to give to first. He's not going to give to stranger. He's going to give to somebody first.
Right. It's someone who deserves it.
It's someone who deserves it first.
And he teaches those kids that the more you give, the more you get. And it's not always necessarily that you get more material, because the one puppy had a full slice. Now he has a piece of a slice. But the lesson there, I believe they're giving is, you might have only gotten a small piece of that pizza, but now everyone got a piece of that pizza. So nobody's hungry. Everyone's eating, opposed to just you eating and everyone else being starving. And that goes along with this message of learning that, you know what, it's right. It's better to share the wealth and help, my friends and family and whatever, than it is to just hoard everything for myself and keep everything and, screw over the little guy like Carface is doing.
Yeah. The movie sure does depict good and bad in so many different directions. And really the lessons that you learn from watching this movie, though it's animated, is really adult themed to a point where, much like you're using this movie for your children, Magic, as to